guys, welcome back to our podcast, Sekou's Bunch. We're all in quarantine right now, just hanging out, chilling, watching Survivor. And this week we're talking about episode 7?
Yes.
7. So
Mhm.
let's start with the first thing that happened in the episode, which was we're at the edge. Sandra was just voted out. And what happens next?
She said, I'm a head out. Like, that
Those
is
were her
literally what
exact words.
That was actually exactly what happened.
it was the team.
I have a plethora of thoughts on this. But if anyone wants to share what they thought first, because I have a lot of conflicting thoughts.
My first thought's just I'm in mourning. The first of many things that I'm in mourning about this episode. That's all.
I would just like to say, I believe during the Winners at War draft that we had, I believe I called Sandra leaving the edge. I could be wrong on that. But for now, I would like to take credit, and if I'm wrong, I will gaslight you all into believing you.
I didn't think anyone was going to leave the edge personally. Like, I thought everyone was going to stick it out. I thought it was going to be a 17-person jury. That is not the case. So they're down to 16, which makes me wonder what happens if they go down to 15, and then
5.
like there's a potential for that happening, but that's so far down the road.
Pippa,
my
did you?
thought, oh,
Pippa, did
Well,
you?
why did my finger do that? Okay, so my first thought was this exit was so rushed. I feel like we didn't get any time to like digest it. We didn't get time for us to come to terms with this. Also, I know that who said it? That they were surprised. It was Andrew on Twitter. I should have known that Andrew was surprised that Sandra has this attitude of I never quit, I never quit, I never quit, and then she quits. I didn't see it that way. I think it makes perfect sense that Sandra went home. She knows she's not good at challenges. She knows that she lost the game. Like, the edge is not the end of the game, but it's also the end of the game, basically, for a majority of the people. And I think Sandra knew that. And so when she went home, I was like, that was so smart of you. Rather than push yourself in a place where you know that nothing's going to come of it for you, why not just say, I'm outie, because nothing else is going to happen for you. I thought that was a really smart decision that she made, not to put herself through that. And this is her 4th time out here, so what else did she have to go for? Gage.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off what Pippa said, which is why I wanted to go next, because I know it's been said that Sandra quit. I don't think leaving the edge is a quit. When Keith and Wendy left in 38, it wasn't framed as a quit. I think Probst even said at the reunion show they didn't quit. They just left the edge. They had nothing more they needed to do there. Because I think the reason that Edge of Extinction was implemented even the first time was to look at like how the dynamic of being voted out and what that does to your psyche and what you would be willing to do to get back in and etc. Sandra doesn't, and like kind of form closure. Sandra doesn't need closure. She won twice. She already knows what she's capable of. And then she got voted out pre-merging Game Changers, probably got the closure she needed then. Sandra doesn't need to do any more to get that kind of closure. The only closure that you need is maybe to reflect on why you got voted out this time. But you heard her say in a confessional, the reason I got voted out this time is because I played emotionally. Then and there, she already knew what she did. She's self-aware of it. And she's like, I don't need to like wither away out here. So I don't blame her. I wish she would have stayed until merge just to see her on the jury, and then she could have just left. But it's her prerogative. She can do what she wants, and I will always respect my mom. I think Monty had his hand up first.
Yeah, so just sort of like going off of that, it's like, yeah, she won twice, and her 2 wins, at least her second one was kind of like, why did you win over Parvati? And then I feel like she came back in Game Changers and was like, this is why I won. Like this is the game that I was playing, but now it's just getting the respect, and people like actually can see it now. And then this time it's like, well, it's winners. I'm not going to pass this one up. But then she didn't have anything left. It's like that one TikTok sound. That one TikTok find us like, and you did this for what? Like, if she'd stayed, I feel like it sort of just would have been like that. And then she's just like, well, I don't need to. So yeah, that's what I had to say. Yes. What?
I'm going to preface that the only person I can see on camera is Gage, so if anyone else is raising their hands, I will not see it. I don't know why my Skype is doing this right now.
We'll let you know.
Thank you.
We'll yell at you, yeah.
Yeah, or like put something in the chat or something.
Okay.
So for me, I had some mixed emotions when it first happened because I felt like obviously disappointed that Sandra, one of my like favorite winners, was leaving. She was not going to be on my screen anymore. If this was her retirement season, which there's no way of telling because so many players say that they're retired or they're not coming back, and then they do come back. But it kind of hit me like right as the boat was leaving that like that might be the last I ever see of Sandra playing Survivor. So that was a tough pill to swallow, and I think I'm still processing it. The other part of me, I do agree with what was said by you guys already, that a quit on the edge does not equate to a quit in the normal game. Like quitting on the edge of extinction is almost welcome. It's not recommended, but it is welcomed. Like if you can't do this, then go and no one's going to judge you. Of course, that should be how it is. Like no one will judge you, but there was so much backlash on Twitter that I saw of, I'm just like thinking of some tweets I saw off the top of my head that were just like coming in on my feed like crazy. But there was one that was like, oh, Sandra do this season. She came, sat on the bench for all the challenges, and then decided to quit. And there was another one that was like saying something about how like it was like against like the spirit of the game, like she should have been like fighting and she should have, but like that's so objective, like a spirit of the game, like that doesn't, I don't know. There were a lot of people I saw that had really angry knee-jerk reactions. Russell Hantz had something to say, obviously, because it's been 10 years and he still can't get the woman's name out of his mouth. But Sandra clapped back, he always did when the troll decides to act up. So yeah, overall, I respect her decision, just like I gave Keith and Wendy the same respect I did last season. I think if people, or 2 seasons ago, I think if people gave Keith and Wendy respect in 38, they have to show that same respect to Sandra. They did everything they wanted to do. They felt like they hit their limit. Sandra's limit happens to be walking in, and then if we're going off of TikTok references today, just walking in, and then it's that full 180s song, and then she just walked back. And you know what? Good for her. Sandra is one of the more self-aware players the game has seen. The woman knows what she's about. She knows she's not good at challenges. She knows she's not going to live well on edge. I've talked long enough. You wanted to say something.
I did. It'll come back to me. Oh, yeah. Okay. So back to the whole, like, quitting the edge is quitting different. I don't know if anybody here has read, like, the original Second Chance, like, that whole script that got leaked or something, where it was, like, the 30-person season and then the tribe's immediately eliminated or something. And the point of Edge of Extinction the first time around, like, the idea was that the players would, like, talk to each other and try and get each other to quit. Like, it was, like, try and convince other people on the edge to quit and, like, convince them why it's a good idea. So I feel like in that sense, like, the twist was set up as a way for people, like, set up for people to quit. And even though it's rare, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm on Survivor, I want to make as much as I can. For some people, that is quitting. That is making the most of their experience. They've had their fill, and the experience is just going to get bad after that. So they're like, you know what? I'm content. I'm here. Whether it's in the same sort of way that was originally intended with other people trying to get them to quit, or just on their own terms, like either way, it's still what the twist was designed for. And I think we've had 3 people do it, leave the edge, and that's, I think, all good for all of them. I think it was the right time for all 3 of those people.
Isaac, Pippa, do you guys have any more thoughts?
Isaac?
Oh, I agree with what you guys are saying. I don't really have anything to say about it.
I'm still sad.
Okay.
I'm still real sad.
Yeah.
But
I think it hasn't hit me personally. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe it's because I don't have that connection that maybe you guys have with her. I have seen, forgive me for blanking, I have seen the first season that Sandra was in, which is
Pearl Island.
What? Yes, yeah. That was about where I had stopped like watching. But I haven't actually seen like her second season at all.
You've not seen Heroes vs. Villains?
I've never seen it. Don't give me that face.
Pippa.
Okay, I'll watch it this week. Actually, I'm gonna start over again, I think, because I have a real urging to watch Africa. And I got that when we saw Edge for the second time. But before we get there, if Isaac doesn't have anything to say, what happened next? It was Sele, right? That's where we went.
Yeah.
The first Sele sequence.
I cannot distinguish Sele and Dakal for some reason, like in my mind.
They're all just 2-syllable names.
I mean, yeah, Yara.
They sound like the last, like.
It's Vivid Green, but.
I'm at the point where I stopped like being able to know tribe names. I'm over that. Like, we don't do that anymore.
This is
like half of this
Michelle
segment I watched trying to figure out what tribe it was. Like, I kept like searching. I was like, say it. Say the tribe name. Say it. And they wouldn't. So this is the one that Wendell's on, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god, he's getting such a villain edit. That was the only thing I had written down. He's getting the biggest villain edit. I think that from the ones that I've like watched that I've seen like in a while. Like, he's mean. Andrew.
Yeah, to go off of that, this Wendell villain edit, it's so interesting because I feel like no matter how he's being, like, in what tone he's being edited as, his story is continuing to be that he is there to push other people's stories. Like, Wendell is just, like, not the main character of his own narrative. Like, he was there essentially this episode to bolster up Michelle once again in a positive light, and then he was there again for Nick to make his decision of, like, do I vote out Yule or do I vote out Wendell? Like, Wendell is somehow he's getting a lot more screen time, but it's all from, like, second person. Like, I think his chances of winning are shot, I guess is where I'm going with that. But the longer he's there, the more positive Michelle ends up looking, which at first, in the, like, first seconds of Wendell and Michelle being together, there was a tiny part of me in my mind that was like, is the edit being biased towards Michelle? Like, we don't know their relationship. We don't know what happened, but they're, like, painting Michelle as, like, good guy, Wendell's bad guy. But then, like, you're watching them more on the island, and, like, the proof is in the pudding. Like, Wendell just condescends her, like, constantly. He's just mean to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's warranted. At first, I didn't know. because I was like, we don't have the information, but on cameras, he's kind of being a dick to her. And his tribe mates, like in general, not a fan.
Just period, just all around.
Yeah, although I do like Wendell, like outside of the game. Like I love him on like social media. I think he is a cool dude. It's just like whatever was in the water in this game, it was making him act out.
Yeah.
Who here was, I forget, somebody was like, I don't think it was Andrew, but honestly, sometimes y'all blur together in a way. I don't know why.
We're all gay
Somebody
white
was
men.
hardcore defending Wendell like at the beginning, like really loved Wendell. I feel like it was Isaac, but I can't know. Maybe it was Andrew.
I thought he had a good shot at winning at the beginning because I thought he was doing a
me
similar.
Too, he's in my draft. Like
he was my preseason winner pick, like when the cast was first announced. Granted, I am a Dominic warrior. I think Dominic should have won Ghost Island to this day, but that's a different story for a different time.
Period.
But like I thought Wendell would, win. I thought Wendell had a good shot at winning. I remember like when we did the draft, I said Pippa, that's a really good pick when you drafted him.
I had so much pride in that moment.
I think basically the Sele sequence before we get to the next Edge sequence, which took up once again a quarter of the episode, was just a fuck Wendell live, over the top, double negative. Yeah. Are you guys ready to get? Oh, go ahead. To the Edge we go.
All right.
Isaac, would you like to talk about the Edge?
Yeah.
Y'all can go ahead.
No, Isaac, please talk about.
Isaac, you've been quiet. What's going on?
Nothing. I'm just ain't got nothing to say.
Interesting.
So it starts with like Ethan. There's like a little shot of like Ethan and Parvati talking, and he's talking about how every day he's out here, he gets more and more worried about his physical health because like, correct me if I'm wrong, is he the only person who's ever like had like that specific procedure done or beat cancer and then played Survivor?
I want to say there was somebody. You know what? You keep talking, and I'm actually gonna look it up because
maybe that specific cancer. This is such a weird, obscure trivia fact, and I don't know if this was before or after she played. Throwback to Survivor Kagion, the original Solana tribe. I'm pretty sure Jeffra Bland had. And look this up, Pippa. Can you go on her Wikipedia page before I say this statement?
Wait, yeah.
Before I say, I think this person had cancer.
God, put her on the list.
Didn't they find a tumor on Courtney Moon?
They did.
That is true. But she didn't know. That was after she got evacuated.
Yeah.
But like, I'm talking about like someone who is like Ethan, whose immune system is essentially shot, like coming back, exposing themselves to starvation, the elements, not just physical hardships, but like mental, emotional, and spiritual as well. Like
to have gone through chemo. Did he go through chemo? I think he said he went through chemo.
He went through chemo, but what helped him? Yeah, but what helped him was the stem cell, or not the stem cell, but like the was it stem cell? I can't remember what it was.
Jeffra.
But
sorry, go on, Isaac.
You go ahead.
Jeffra had before she went on Survivor, she had already survived cervical cancer.
My mind works in mysterious ways. Add her to the list, though.
Just you got a mind like a master. Just so creative. Like
we're representing the beauty tribe today, ladies. Yeah, but Isaac, I think you're right. I think he is the only person
who has done something like stem cell. Yeah. Which I'm not super like that. Okay, I thought about not saying this, but then I was like, no, I'll say it because it kind of makes sense. Okay, and this is coming from somebody who like literally knows nothing, next to nothing. I know a little bit about stem cell transplants. like, I was, like, in that moment, and I feel like a lot of other people were too, I was so worried about Ethan. I was like, I had never thought about it like that. Like, you're so right, Ethan. Please raise that flag. Please.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, the fact that he's sticking out and persevering is really respectable. I guess he is sticking it out maybe more to show that he could do it and that he does have that determination and that endurance, that overall endurance. I don't know if he's thinking that he could win the challenge though, especially if his body is starting to really not cooperate with him more and more each day. I don't like maybe who's to say like maybe he doesn't think he could really do well in the challenge, but just the fact that he's out there showing that he is so strong and mentally resilient. I mean, I at least appreciate a lot. And if we do take it more into a technical sense, I feel like bad, like making his like sympathetic edit like numerical, but like he's getting a really good edit. I don't know. Like right now, I would say probably him and Tyson have the best like edits kind of like on hold where they're like not going invisible. We keep seeing bits and pieces of Ethan and Tyson. So yeah, I mean like moving into that, if we were moving on from Ethan, like who do we think this week still is a contender to come back?
Wait, I just want to tell you real quick.
Yes.
When Ethan said all that, the first thing I thought of, and this is a complete blonde moment, and I can't believe that I thought of it. My first thought was, I wonder if anybody told them about coronavirus, like that it's happening in the world right now.
Oh my god.
The episodes are filmed months in advance, and that they're living in the world just like we are. But my first thought was, I wonder if anybody's told them about.
We love our resident casual Pippa.
Yeah, none of them know.
Isaac, stop blaring at me.
I mean, Big Brother Canada 8 knows, but that's a whole different thing.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So
anything else about
well, for the Edge, I tried an extreme this week, and it just turned on for me to watch Rob find 3 fire tokens, and that was the very first thing I saw of the entire episode, and I wanted to just turn it right back off. So bad.
Wait, but before that, I did want to know your guys' thoughts on who you think still has a good chance.
I think it's Tyson. It's Tyson 100%. I will be shocked if it's not Tyson.
I just wanted to make sure we can get back to the Rob thing. I was just curious.
We can talk about how Tyson frisked Rob, and Amber was like, ooh.
That was kind of homoerotic.
It was homoerotic. He literally pulled his pants down.
Oh.
I did tell you guys I did not need to watch Rob grab his junk and readjust. I didn't need to see that. I mean, I know that it's a real life thing, but top 10 things that did need to. I want Rob's junk to be on the list, Isaac, please. Anyway, I think
Pippa,
Rob...
what was it that you sent to this chat? What was it that you sent? Not when we grabbed his dick?
No, I misspoke. I wrote wrong. I meant to say he. None of us are gonna do anything. Anyway, I think that Rob is gonna come back. I still believe that with my little casual heart. Isaac?
What?
Who do you think it's gonna be?
I think it's gonna be more than one person.
Who?
Still, like I could see it being Tyson, Ethan, or Natalie, and that's my top 3. But like, besides that, Danny's obviously not coming back. Nobody has even mentioned Danny.
No.
I saw her cowgirl hat, and I was like,
the radar
who
again.
is that? Literally.
The radar.
I'm gonna watch Guatemala.
I love Guatemala.
And
That was
then
about it.
Amber's not coming back, obviously.
The only thing that Amber did this episode was Tyson said, "We even left the rice on the fire." But if you see everybody else running off, Amber stays back. You can see it in the corner. And I think that she took the rice off the fire. And I wrote that was such a mom thing. Like, she couldn't leave it burning. It was so funny.
I love Amber. Yeah, Amber and Danny got barely any content, and someone else who didn't really get content this episode, or last episode, or the episode before, is Natalie.
Yeah.
Who I'm starting to get a little worried about, because at first I was like, oh, okay, they're just like, they're edit protecting her. They're
taking a little break.
They're taking a break, but then we haven't heard from her in 4 weeks. So I'm like a little concerned, because she's getting really overshadowed right now.
Who?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that, Natalie was the main narrator on The Edge. She was the one that found all the advantages before Tyson showed up. And then Tyson shows up. But granted, the episode Tyson shows up, there's a swap, so they didn't show any Edge. And then the minute Tyson shows up, he, usurps all her content.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a coincidence, whatsoever. It's okay, now the real contender's here. Let's forget the first boot and give it back to this quirky dude.
I could see if they have a later Edge return, like a final 5, final whatever, then Natalie picks up again in between, so Tyson and maybe Ethan. I don't know. Let's go crazy and say 3 people come back, because who even knows? But yeah, I could see Natalie come back for a second one.
All right. We'll take a quick break right here, and then we'll be right back.
Deadass. We back.
Okay, y'all, welcome back. It felt like 1 second for you, but it was really 20 minutes for us. So, Andrew, something to say about the fire tokens?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just wrote this down. It happened right before they went to commercial, before Edge, where Rob said, "I'm the best that's ever played." And then next to it, I wrote "Girl, no" in all caps, because it's just not true. But I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, that's what I saw. The same thing. I thought the same thing. I was like, anyway.
I think he was being a little trolly. He was being a little showboaty, but I was like, cut the cameras.
I despise you sometimes.
Also, we saw that entire tribe vote you out like it was nothing. So
literally.
Let's not even here.
We also saw an article come out today where all 20 winners said who they thought the best winner of all time preseason was, and none of them said Rob.
Period. Not even Amber?
Amber said Parvati, I'm pretty sure.
I have to laugh.
No, read the article, because Amber said Parvati, but the way she typed it, she made it sound like Parvati won Heroes vs. Villains. I'm gonna find it. Hold on.
That girl won All-Stars. She won All-Stars, watched Redemption Island, and that is it. That is all the Survivor she has seen since then.
If you guys want to keep going, I will find the article and I will tell you what Amber said verbatim.
BB won season 1 of Drag Race and stopped watching.
If you're literally, if you're on YouTube, the article will linked down below.
Okay, so she says, and I quote, Amber Mariano, Parvati pops in my head in the sense that she really played Russell Hantz really, really well. Russell is known for playing the women. He got played by her, so I think that's pretty cool and something to be proud of. That's all she said.
Amber literally rushed onto the Survivor wiki and done Parvati's fucking bio and just typed that out in 20 seconds. Rob was like, Amba, did you send in that thing to what was it, Dalton Ross? Who was it?
Who does EW?
Dalton Ross.
Dalton Ross.
Rob was like, Amba, did you send that thing to Dalton? And she was like, yeah, 1 minute. And then she just clicked stuff.
she was like, you aligned with Parvati, right? And he was like, yeah. And she's like, okay. And then typed that out and sent it in.
She's like, is it pronounced Parvati or poverty? Rob goes, poverty.
Stop imitating him.
He's too good at it, unfortunately. Alright, anything else from Edge?
Bathroom. No.
It existed, so disgusting.
I perceived it, but I did not want to know it.
Yeah.
Alright. Pippa, do you want to transition us to DeCall?
And now we're going to the call. What did I have for this? Hold on. I had 0 notes for this. Probably because I was playing Gardenscapes on my phone and I looked up and just saw Tony sprinting, and then I immediately was disinterested.
Tony.
He sounds like an old man. He looks like an old man.
I hate the way they filmed it too from that angle.
It was so funny. Tony's winning.
Tony coming to me in my dreams, in my nightmares.
In my dreams, please. It would never be a nightmare with Tony.
I despise you.
Did you have something to say?
I did, but then I thought for 3 seconds, and I no longer have something to say.
Say it so Isaac
can
add it to the list.
I was gonna say that, like, last episode, Tony kind of was getting thrown under the bus a little bit by the edit, just being like how like crazy he was going and like hiding and doing all that stuff, and that he didn't really like explain any of it this week, but he like fully did. He was like, well, Denise just did me a favor by voting out Sandra, so that's all I'm gonna say. I forgot about that. Yes, Andrew.
I do want to point out though that Jeremy did clock Tony in his confessionals. He basically just said straight up, like, Tony, you're cool, you've still lasted this long, we like you, yada yada yada, but like that does not take away from the fact that you're still the biggest target here, which I think was really important introspection from Jeremy. I feel like, and like, tell me if y'all agree, I feel like Jeremy hasn't really been a main character yet, but he's being set up to be a big player at the merge. Like, they could have ghosted him because really he hasn't had that much gameplay to comment on. He did definitely on the first tribe iterations. This swap, not so much. And the fact that Jeremy was able to clock that in Tony, I think, was really important. I also think, in terms of last week and this week, the fact that Tony has gotten some hits to his game, just in terms of, like, he was shown as a crackhead last episode. This episode, someone did call out his game, or at least show that they knew the game he was playing. I also feel like that's important when a winner edit is being built in a season that has a lot of contenders, because when you get to the final tribal council and you get to that end game, you do definitely want to have pros and cons as to why a certain person has or should win. And I feel like this season, no one has had like a perfect go at it just in the pre-merge. Like, everyone right now has had some setbacks. They've had some good moments. Like, the people who I think are still really up there to potentially win, like Sophie and Michelle and Sarah, like, none of them are playing perfectly. Some of them do have, or they all do have drawbacks. I think that's important.
Yeah. He also got clocked by Kim, too. Kim, I have options, Sprattle and Wolf.
That's true.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting. I will say this, and we'll get to the immunity challenge later. I knew immediately once they started talking about merge, they weren't going to tribal. So like we had an exciting immunity challenge, but I knew they were going to win because why else would they be talking about merge?
Mm-hmm.
Or just making it that obvious. Like I, if we're talking about edits right now, can we talk about Kim's edit? Because Kim's edit confuses the absolute shit out of me.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kim like gets clocked. It seems like every episode she gets some sort of negative second person visibility, but she has an idol. I think Kim's in a fantastic spot going into this merge. Probably one of, if not the best spots.
And she's very self-aware.
Yeah.
She knows the dynamics of the tribe. She knew the dynamics of the tribe when she was on her first tribe. She is aware right now that she's in the middle, and she even said it. She was like, I'm not in a dominant position this game, but like she's gonna roll with it, it seems.
Well, actually, did she say that, or did she say, I want to be in a dominant position? Because I wonder if that's foreshadowing for how she's going to get booted. Is she going to try to take the reins, and everyone's going to be like, oh, no, 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 not again, and then
I
just
could see that
her.
happening, because she's not getting enough content to be, like, main character, but, like, she could definitely have, like, a 2 or 3 episode arc where she does gain power, and then gets caught, like she gets, like, Sierra Dawn. Yep.
Yes, literally. Yep. Same brain.
We are on the same fucking page.
Also, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but I think Denise only got one confessional tonight. And
She did.
Denise's confessional that she got tonight was the exact same confessional, or at least from the same sequence that she gave last episode before going into Tribal Council, which tells me that, like, production must have just had no clue that she was going to vote out Sandra. So I wonder what production's reaction was when she wrote down Sandra. Because there had to be no way that she knew.
Yeah, I wonder if she, like, Danny boat-righted it and, like, purposely did not give them a name going into Tribal last week.
I don't think it's that. I think it's just because, like, the exchange with the idol and the fire token, and if you watch it, it's, like, literally at sunset. So I bet it happened so late in the game, like, where that decision happened, which, granted, they probably make strategic decisions like that because they know they're not going to have enough time to scramble in between if they're about to leave and have to film the sequence where they're all being dramatic, walking along the beach with their torches. So, like, they make those decisions based on the time of day and everything else. And I bet they did that on purpose, and because they did that, that affects when you can film a confessional. So,
but she still had the other idol and could have given a confessional earlier in the day, just without the double play.
That's true.
And they could have, like, edited it in and then, like, done that weird, like, I'm going to vote for Sandra tonight at Tribal Council.
Hi, I'm Denise, and I stole from Sandra's purse. Like, that's what I'm picturing. Isaac, Pippa, do you guys have any thoughts? I know Pippa said she didn't really for this tribe.
No, not really. I didn't care about
it. Isaac.
I agree with the sentiment that Kim's edit also confuses the hell out of me. They're building her up for something, obviously, because, like, I don't see a world in which you bring Kim Spradlin back and she has, like, she was discounted early on because of the Poker Alliance thing, and now she's in a position where she can call a few shots, or help balance it out, rather. And I don't know. I just think it's headed somewhere. I don't know if that's good for her, but it is definitely headed somewhere. As for Denise's edit, also confuses me because there's not a lot to it, and, like, it kind of, like, the best way I can describe it, it's kind of like driftwood in water. It's kind of like it'll go down beneath the waves, but it'll pop back up, but it'll go back down. Like,
that's perfect.
It's like hit or miss with Denise. I don't.
I don't
know.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like, you can tell where some of these people fall in placements, but, like, for Denise and Kim, I don't think they make it to the end, but I can't tell where in merge they go.
I think Denise's edit is more so to support other people's edits, like specifically Adam. Like, I think Pippa said last podcast that she thought Adam was going to be a losing finalist, and I 100% back up Pippa. Like, I think Pippa is spot on. I really do. I think Adam's getting second or third. Monty.
Especially, are we done with the call? Because this point goes off of that.
I still had one little thing about the call. Okay. That's okay.
Do that.
Kind of. We're gonna jump back. Still about Kim and Denise. The first thing being Kim, Denise, and Jeremy seem to solidify their alliance, which made me happy at the same time. The hell out of me because I wanted Yara to lose, and then of course they came in first place because I was like, it would be an easy Benner Adam boo. But then I was like, okay, if the call goes to tribal, they're probably voting out Tony, which made me very, very nervous. But now looking at the fact that Kim makes the merge, I feel like Isaac was saying, like they're building Kim up for something. We just don't really know for sure what it is yet. And I feel like, and Isaac also bringing back into the frame the Poker Player Alliance, I feel like Kim's edit has the real big possibility of kind of being this more under the radar kind of moderate edit where she starts from the bottom and she kind of subtly finds ways to get power here and there. Like she gets in good with Sophie. That's like one way to get in good graces. She gets in good with Denise and Jeremy. Like she's just finding these little ways to get herself into that dominance that she wants. Again, whether that will be good or bad for her is yet to be determined. And then one last thing, I just wanted to mention Denise in her confessional saying that there are big targets in small places. Again, adding to confusion with Denise's edit, because I would say Denise is the second most confusing edit as well, like you guys basically implied. She seems like a huge threat, but then she's not really getting as much content to back it up. She's kind of, like you guys have said, she's been there for other people for the most part, sans last episode.
I don't quite understand that either, because, like, looking back on the move she just pulled with Sandra, you'd think they'd want to hype that up. They'd want to hype Denise up as a player, as this new queen, because she's essentially the one who slayed the queen. So, like, why they're not, I don't kind of... I don't know if something bad happens with Denise later on in this season and that's why they didn't do it, or if they're like saving her for something else. But like it seems like a missed opportunity to hype Denise up, to me at least.
Yeah.
Which is why it's just confusing in general, I think.
Unless Denise just gets like royally robbed, where we've seen people like who play super great and do wonderful things, and then their edit is just very middle of the road, and it's just to protect them or whenever they go home. Yeah, like from like
who?
A really.
Who'd you say?
Like Victoria.
Victoria.
Oh,
Victoria,
yeah.
the perfect example. I'm trying to think of like just other seasons like recently. I wanted the idols in particular. Janet. And Janet even still got a really good edit, but Janet didn't get a lot of confessionals. But like Janet, you know, same thing. Like I could just see maybe Denise gets robbed in that kind of way, shape, or form, like just twist screwed. Maybe the same with Kim.
Oh,
maybe that's what happens.
Kara, sorry, I'm just like thinking of people. Kara and David versus Goliath. It feels like there's a trend, like every season recently almost. There's someone who does play decently well. I feel like it's just this is like meta with like discussion with like production, but I feel like that person doesn't give the personalities that production wants.
Yeah.
And then they don't get the edit for it. Like Victoria is a very like chill person. Cara's a chill person. I would even say Allison and David versus Goliath. It's always those like even-keeled women who do play well, but then like they're not giving what the camera wants. I don't know. That's been my working theory for the last few seasons because it keeps happening.
Can I give a good one, Monty, before I forget? And then you go?
Yeah.
I was going to say a good one. I don't know if Andrew would agree with me on this. Like, is Kellen from Ghost Island? Because Kellen got a huge villain edit, but apparently Kellen was a huge jury threat.
No, Kellen was, like, edited as a jury threat, I thought, the whole time.
I never thought she was. She got a lot of negative content, and then finally when she got voted out...
All of Navidi was going to vote for her, whether she was a douchebag or not.
Yeah.
That was, like, the thing. Like, if Kellen got to the end, she was going to win, but it was going to be a shitty win. We need to have a Ghost Island podcast.
Monty with his
Molo.
Okay. So, Kellen...
Ghost Island.
We have to relive the horror
so
Monty, who are you going to say?
Kellen aside, like, the whole, like, even-keeled, well-playing women, like, Denise fits right in there. Like, she is so steady, level-headed. She was in Philippines. She seems to be there again here. Like, she is just so even and so consistent and just so calm always that I could totally see her fitting in that same, like, 7th through 4th place finish, playing great, but just not the producers with it.
I hate that. Because they just look for either the loud men or, like... I'm sorry,
Charisma.
you probably interrupted.
The loud men or the next Wentworth, Parvati, whoever they're calling it this year.
Or, like, the women they're going to edit to, like, get destroyed at finale, like Angelina or Nora. Or Julie.
Or Karishma.
Please, Karishma winner. I fucking love Karishma.
Karishma winner. Oh, stand Karishma.
Can you imagine the winner of Survivor Island of the Idols? Karishma.
Karishma's winning second chances too. But anyways, let's continue.
Anyway,
okay.
Let's go to Yara.
So back to my whole. So this is like backtracking like 7-8 minutes, but when we were talking about Adam as a second place, the losing final, the first like couple episodes of the season, I was kind of scared because he was getting so many of those confessionals. It's like, I will put my mind to anything and like it always just gets done, and like my goal has always been to not be a winner of Survivor but to be a 2-time winner of Survivor. And so at the very beginning I was like thinking, okay, what if that actually comes through and is like where his story goes. But after this episode there is not a single chance that Adam is doing anything like that. There is not a chance. And you love to see it. Yes, Kate?
I'm putting him on the list.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Adam finally starts getting actually undermined by the edit the minute he starts interacting with Sophie, who we all think is winning this season. Like, I think Sophie...
edit
I was thinking about this on my car ride home today. Sophie's gonna goat Adam the same way she was possibly gonna goat Cochran. And I started thinking about the epic confessional Sophie has in South Pacific, where Cochran's considering if he's gonna flip or not, and that he's gonna get bullied whenever he comes back to camp. And Sophie just goes, and I quote, "Well, yeah, that's a legitimate thing for a dodgeball target to be afraid of." Adam is a dodgeball target.
There's a part of me that feels really bad for him because he definitely, like, he has that superfan charisma that I feel like we would all kind of bring to the table. He's over the top about it, but like, are you okay?
I just started thinking about something. Please keep going, and I'll interrupt you.
So I feel kind of bad for him because he's so eager, but then he just is so not self-aware on this tribe right now. Like, the amount of times we heard him say, "Oh, it has to be Sarah or Ben that has the idol." They totally, like, there's no way that, which basically implies Sophie doesn't have the idol. Sophie doesn't have the idol. Yada yada yada. Sophie has the idol. It's just, I feel he is the dodgeball target of the season, and I wrote down in my notes, Adam Doofus said it. Like, he is Adam Doofus Klein. And, like, if you look at the content he's getting, I think he has like 26 confessionals right now. And then everyone else, I've been recording it. He has 26 confessionals right now. The next person under him who is not at the edge is Tony with 16. So, like, Adam, big gap, and then everyone else is relatively close to each other. It's a pretty even spread. So either Adam is no votes finalist, or he's like the first or second to merge boot. Like, that's the only thing I see happening. Or the only two things.
So the thing I was laughing about, I just started picturing Sophie taking Adam to the end and literally just saying once again verbatim, you know, I wanted to work with a girl this season because I know little girls. What's the fucking quote she says about Coach where she goes, I looked at Coach and I knew he was the equivalent to a little girl.
God, because she was like usually like alpha men try to take like young women to the end of this game, and Coach was my young woman.
Because he was undoubtedly loyal.
She's gonna say that sitting next to Adam, and Boston Rob comes back from Edge, and she calls Boston Rob her little girl.
How do you feel about that, Pippa?
Oh my gosh.
Can we talk about how Adam and Ben are so tired of each other? I think that's so funny.
It honestly was funny. When Ben was just thinking peanut butter jelly, and Adam just looks at him like, if looks could kill.
They do not like each other. It's
if
so
they could just strangle each other.
Anymore. Anybody want to trade on the draft?
Yes.
I'll trade shit.
Who will you trade?
Pippa, all of Isaac's people have been voted out.
No.
Literally, before this episode, me and Andrew had perfect drafts, and then we'll get to our boot later, but rest in peace.
Yes,
Perfect
I want a draft update at the end for us, but yeah, Ben is getting to be super, super annoying. When he started mocking Adam...
Welcome to the club.
Well, when he started mocking Adam, I was like, really? You don't have anything better to do? You can't go, like, kick a tree? You can't, like, drown or something? I don't know. No, I would never want that, Ben. I'm sure you're a very nice person outside of the game, but
we don't want no Tasha in Cambodia happening.
But like, I don't know. Everybody was being so mean to Adam, but that could partially be because Adam is such a crybaby that, like, you could say, like, oh, your hair looks slightly out of place today, and he'd be like, and that is when I knew that I was considered a pariah in society, okay? And, yeah,
I mean, it doesn't help that, well, it does help for us because it's entertaining, but Ben and Adam are two of, like, the pettiest people to ever play. Like, they both have the tolerance of, like, my Italian grandmother. Like, they just had, there's nothing. Like, they hate everybody, so they hate each other.
Hey, do you guys know Andrew was Italian?
No, I didn't.
I think people.
We can't all have crazy Sicilian grandmothers who are trying to go to the supermarket right now during the corona outbreak.
No, that's just me. I am that Sicilian grandmother.
Well, trying to go to the supermarket?
Anyway, just kidding. So, what happened next? The challenge.
We went to the challenge.
I want to say something real quick before anybody else does. Okay? Thanks, Gage. You can go next.
Deal.
I am mad at Jeff Probst.
Why?
For the same thing I was mad about him last time. He needs to leave Nick alone, okay?
I wrote that in all caps. Look.
I wrote... Hold on, let me...
Can you see it?
Leave Nick alone!
I said... Wait, what does it say? I couldn't see.
It literally said, leave Nick alone.
Yeah, I put, leave poor Nick alone. This nobody else is getting this kind of like, oh, so-and-so is in this past challenge. Like, as much as Nick does, we get it. Nick failed a lot, but, he still won, Jeff, okay? And then when Nick was like, oh, what did he say? I wrote it down specifically because I knew I'd forget. When he said to Wendell, don't pay attention to him, I went, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh, anyway, Gage.
I was just gonna make a hot take if everyone's ready, and I am now like convinced. I think Sophie Clark is like a top 5 like challenge performer in Survivor history.
A top 5 might be a stretch.
Top
I'll
10.
put her in the top like 12.
Well, this is the reason why.
She's one of the best puzzle players of
Not even the puzzle.
Period.
Sophie's the reason why it was her strategy to go once and do that big load and go super slow. And who's seen South Pacific? I know Monty has. Isaac, Andrew, have you seen South Pacific? Do you remember the first immunity challenge that Sophie won?
Albert, come help me.
Come pick up my pieces, Albert.
Come pick up my pieces, Albert.
That wasn't it, but yeah.
The first immunity challenge that she won, it was a basically challenge, and I don't think Pippa's watched South Pacific, where basically everyone had to walk through an obstacle course, and they had to, with a basket on top of their head, and they had to carry rice in the basket on their head, and they had to transfer the rice, put it in a bucket. Once they transferred enough rice, they would pull up, like, whoever transferred, this X amount of rice would win. Instead of everyone, started going in small increments, Sophie took the whole damn bag and made one trip. That. And she won on one trip, and she said, that was fucking easy. She literally looked at everyone and, shrugged her arms up like this. And guess what? She did the exact same thing this episode. And she won.
I think she is really underrated as a challenge player.
I think she won 3 in South Pacific.
She won 3. She's the only person to win immunity twice in one day because they had that weird double treble.
She beat out Ozzy.
Yeah, and she beat out Ozzy. And another thing, just another tick in her hat. Like, you look at these challenges, they're like all different challenges too. It's not like the same challenge that she wins every time. It's like that thing with the rice and balancing, and then like a trivia challenge. Like she did trivia time and she won immunity. And then she did that big
in the back
obstacle course. And then this is a pretty solid win for her. And even like on their tribe, like I don't think of Sarah as like a weak challenge performer, but they were all like, we're voting out Sarah because Sophie's better.
Yeah.
Sophie will definitely win. She can win a couple immunities for sure now that she's with the merge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if there's anything in particular. Yeah, I said this before. This challenge would have been like a lot more stressful if like it wasn't so set up that Sayla was already gonna lose.
I know.
Like it was so close. I'm like, okay, we know DeCall's not losing, but other than that, that's all I got.
I have a quick side note where when I was on Twitter, because you know where I am during these episodes, there were a couple people mentioning like, oh, there was like no reaction from Parvati or from the vote out being Parvati and Sandra, and I feel like either A, they just edited it out for time reasons, or they thought it wasn't important or whatever, or B, they had an entire unaired reward challenge, because this also wasn't for reward. This was just for immunity. So I feel like
yourself.
What?
Ignore
Isaac's
it.
playing
it's okay.
with fire.
Oh, I can't. Isaac has not been on my screen this entire time because Gage is still the only person on my screen. Yeah, I think they do. What is
Sorry,
that?
go ahead.
They're
playing with fire.
Sometimes, right?
It smells like singed hair. Just go ahead. I'm so sorry.
That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, going from playing with fire to playing with fire tokens. Let's go to the Sekou Beach after the immunity challenge loss. Yes?
First, before we do one thing. Nope, never mind. It's gone. It's gone.
I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
How about this, Isaac?
Sekou Beach.
Tell us your thoughts before we went to tribal.
Thoughts on what? Tribal? Before we went to tribal?
Yeah.
I kind of got tired. I liked when Yule, I don't know if this happened like in this thing. It was like Michelle and no. Yule, no, that was way earlier. I'm so sorry. Never mind. I'm just happy that like. Let me rephrase. Let me. Sorry, the fire still. It smells really bad in here now. I was like really quick to chalk like Wendell's like behaviors up to like the edit, like they're trying to give us like a villain or something. But then when like Yule and like Nick and like other people are being like, hey, Wendell's kind of like a shithead. It's hard to pin it all on the edit. Like, I'm sure he's a great guy or whatever, but I'm starting to have like my doubts about his like character, I guess.
He's a cocky son of a bitch.
Yeah, and Michelle was apologizing for the challenge loss, and that didn't sit right with me, especially when everyone else was kind of like, it's Wendell's fault, even though she like, and I don't know, to me, Michelle acts really weird around Wendell. Like, yeah. I know he's like really rude to her, and she's just like, haha, okay. And I don't know if she's like strategically doing that, or if she like still has like feelings for him.
She seems. I take it as she is uncomfortable and does not want a fight to break out, so she is trying to defuse by like I've literally like, I feel like we've all seen this with like friends, or like maybe even been in this situation where it's like someone's being combative, whether it's like a friend or like an ex or like whoever, and like you just don't want to be combative in that situation, so you're kind of just like nodding along because you just want the interaction to end.
Yeah, but like it was like even like when there wasn't like any combative moments, like when they first got on the beach, she like took it a step further where she was trying to appease something before it got started. Like, she was like, oh my god, Wendell, you did so good. I'm so sorry for messing up the puzzle or whatever, or like something along those lines. And I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I understand why things happened the way they did. I wish it didn't, but I guess that'll take us into tribal. Like, I think Yule should have not talked as much, because I think he kind of like, I think his name was going to be up there regardless, but I think he should have not talked as much.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
To piggyback off what Isaac said, I do think a big reason why Michelle had acted like that, or at least the edit showcased what happened the way it happened. I mean, Michelle got into that tribe when she was already swapped fucked. Like, it was 3 original to call, 2 Sekou, the 3 to call they were all in like a tight 4-person alliance, and 3 of that 4 got swapped in that tribe. And Michelle and Parvati were super aware of that. So Michelle knows she's already playing from the bottom, and like already has to just essentially kiss ass. That's all you can do, and hope that some crack does form, which it did. I would also just like to tag props before we get any further, and if anybody would like to say this, the fact that Michelle Fitzgerald, not only did she not go home tonight, her name wasn't even thrown out.
Queen.
Her fucking name wasn't even thrown out. Pippa is fuming.
Not even she didn't get a vote. It wasn't thrown out. Like, it was like, we'll tell Wendell we're doing Michelle just to like as a decoy, and that was
shocked. I was literally shocked. The first conversation that we saw when they came back to the beach was like, I think Yule and Nick just saying like, it's Wendell, right? And I was like, did my like fucking am I hallucinating? Like, I thought for sure Michelle was going to be on the chopping block. I was worried it was going to be like a Michelle versus Yule situation, Michelle versus Wendell situation. And then they brought up Yule, which honestly, I'm not happy about it, but I feel like it wasn't the worst decision because the man is showing and not really hiding that he is hyper intelligent when it comes to strategy.
I agree with that sentiment to a stance, but like, let's also say this right now. I don't think Michelle made the decision. Nick 100% made the decision,
Nick.
and Michelle went
Nick.
along with it because she didn't have a choice. She probably still thought she was on the bottom in some capacity. Probably thought she was going home still if she didn't vote the way that Nick told her to vote. And I just don't think it was a good decision for a lot of reasons. And I think a big part is like Yule's a shield. Like, I think Yule's a shield in a plethora of ways. It's the hyper awareness of him being a strategic threat, which not only he knows, it's not the fact that he knows, everybody knows it. So like, if everybody knows that he's a threat, then he is a threat. If you're the only person that thinks he's a threat, then he's not really that much of a threat. If that makes sense. Perception is reality, and the more people that think it, the more true it is. That logic makes sense. And
Yeah.
I do agree.
And like, everybody already knows that Yule, if he gets to the end, he's gonna win. And he's the only old schooler left. He already has that story right then and there at that point. He's the only old schooler to make merge. Why not just keep him in as a shield and take out Wendell, where Wendell seems like he's going to be almost like, they always say this word is word, but like almost like a tumor to an alliance. Monty, what you got?
I think I've been thinking about this since you started speaking, so
I've been thinking.
Who knows if this makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
But I could almost see there's been a lot of talk about like shields and shields and shields and shields this season. I could almost see them using Wendell as like a visibility / asshole shield, where it's like he's been very vocal that he will flip to anyone, he will work with anyone, he will do whatever it takes. So if you start bringing that up in a 13, 12, 11 person tribe where people are just looking for reasons to vote someone out again, it's like, well, he's not predictable. Like, he's going to do whatever. And on top of that, it's not like he's been shown to be an asshole. So it's like he's not just talking about flipping and like saying all these crazy things, but you could get away with if you're like personable, but he's just being like rude as well, as we've been talking about. So it's like those two things, I could see them being like, well, he's going to get targeted before us if we just are like, Wendell's just like making us awful if they're in a bad spot come merge. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah. No, that's totally valid.
Yeah. Andrew, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think it was a decision based on both of these men are going to be shield. We want the shield who is a better game player and will be a target for that reason, but has a higher chance of staying loyal to us? Or do we take the one who's a bit more of a wild card, but is a worse game player, not as big of a threat, and is a field for kind of the opposite reasons? So I think it was fine. Like, I think when voting out Wendell or Yule is one of those decisions where neither one of them is a bad decision. I just think you decide based on the circumstances that you are going into the next day. And I do want to point out the fact of this being Nick's decision. Like, every single episode now, I'm pretty sure without fail, has kind of had the person who is like making the decision be the person who gets that like last word in, like that last confessional as they're walking off the tribal. And it's so weird that it was Nick now because he's been as close to purple as you can get without being like straight invisible. And then this decision suddenly comes down to him. He didn't even get any content before before the challenge, and then he gets all of this content before tribal, and then it's his decision that Michelle kind of has to go along with. So I don't think it was a bad decision. I honestly, I might have even made that same decision. Like, keep around the unlikable people.
I will say this. I don't like everything about this pre-tribal sequence. I don't think we were supposed to focus on like the decision between Wendell versus Yule. This whole episode still, once again, set up the Michelle Fitzgerald journey edit. Like,
Yeah.
That's what this episode was all about still. Like, the entire Michelle's last confessional, where she gets the last one before we head into, like, tribal. And once again, Michelle gets brand new music that's never been shown before.
The fucking
This is the second
guitar.
time. The second time it's happened.
I thought my Spotify was playing.
Mine too.
I literally was like,
I'm like, do I hear a woman singing in the background?
I got straight goosebumps when that was happening. I was like, oh my god. I was getting hyped up.
All right. And can I ask Pippa?
Yes.
And Pippa, I just want you to be very honest. Like, give us 100% uncensored, unfiltered opinion. If people who are just now getting into this podcast and everything else, if they go back and the very first thing they listen to in chronological order, everyone would know you don't believe Michelle should have won Kobong. You don't believe Michelle. You are the most anti-Michelle person I've ever met.
Yes.
We are now about to enter a merge. Has your opinion shifted at all? How do you feel about her
You are
now?
the people. You are the people she is talking about in confessionals.
That is true. But like even like what she says, and Michelle would agree with this in some way, shape, or form, your opinion is still valid. But like can I ask what still stays the same versus maybe what things have maybe changed in your perception of her? Maybe game back then, game now, anything. I'm just curious because like all four of us are probably big Michelle truthers. Yes, like before going into this, so diversity, opinion.
First, I would like to say I would like to speak uninterrupted when I say my first thought is I can't talk about her game back then because it didn't exist. So that's my first thought.
Okay.
The truth is now, tonight, I started liking Michelle a teeny bit more than how I did in the first episode. Do I think that she's redeeming herself and actually proving that she deserved her title? Yes.
Okay.
I do think that she is proving that she is a powerhouse in the game, that she can make decisions. Monty's like listening like it's God talking to him. It's so funny. But yes, I will admit I am starting to like Michelle. I hope that she takes this and rolls with it, that she takes this newfound power that she's created. And instead of, there's something that I thought of when Michelle was talking to Wendell and she was like, yeah, I'm totally with you. I wanted to scream like, girl, why are you with him? Why are you giving him the time of day? He obviously does not care for you and is out for himself. I felt like I was watching something very low-key toxic. I was not in the mood for it. It was not the time for it. But I really hope that instead of being like, see, Wendell, I did this. I kept you. Now we can work together. She's like, see, MFer, I have all the power, and you're going to listen to me, and you're going to trust me, and blah, blah, blah. So if she keeps making an upward trajectory, I'm all cool with her. If she goes downhill from here, there's nothing I can do for my opinion other than keep waving it in your faces. So, Monty.
I just want to say we should mark our calendars for March 25th, 2020 for the day Pippa said Michelle isn't that bad and Ben kind of sucks.
A holiday.
The character development.
I think it's also important to note as we go into this merge episode, previous to this season, Michelle had attended the least amount of tribal councils of anybody, with only going to 6. This season, before we even hit the merge, Michelle attended the most tribal councils as anybody in the games with 5, and did not receive a vote at any single one.
Michelle
Yes.
is fucking queen. Can I? Oh, I did have something about Michelle also. I felt like if we're talking about the interactions that Wendell and Michelle had, as uncomfortable as they were, I definitely was seeing some echoes into the past. Back at that iconic sequence in, I don't know if it was Nick's boot episode in Korong, but where she was kind of talking about how like Nick was talking like at her and not with her, and then she had her iconic confessional where she was like, "Bro, da 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 da, like I can like do this for myself, whatever. Like I don't need you." I was seeing big parallels between that and this. However, this two exes talking at each other, or talking at each other. Haha.
She doesn't need to be carried, bro.
Did they end up dating for a bit?
Michelle and Nick?
I thought they did.
Michelle and Nick?
No, not from this season, from Korong.
Yes. I think that has been confirmed.
Has a tape, and that's all I'm gonna say. So, yeah, I mean, I just love Michelle. And then, if we want to, can we move kind of back into the Yule sphere a bit? Because I have something big to bring up about Yule that we talked about earlier in the season that I think a few of us were on board with. And it was the question of, is Yule getting that like fake, kind of oversaturated pre-merge right before the merge boot edit? And me and whoever else said that, because I know there were a couple of us at least that were, Gage, there were a couple of us that, you're still the only one I can see, so if anyone else is acknowledging, is Monty also acknowledging? I can't see.
He did. He was.
Okay.
I did. Okay.
I feel like
I don't remember if I did or not, but
I feel like it was a pretty, like, it wasn't super far out there, but we did guess that like literally episode 1. So I just want to give us some props because that's exactly what happened. I'm sad about it, but it's exactly what happened. You got Yule, and that's like this entire season. I feel like the people, those fans who are kind of trying to guess the winners, everyone has had Yule close to the top, but kind of with a question mark. Because like he's too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
So, I will say this: we usually say, I do want to say we argue it's Yule or it's gonna be a woman, and that's why I thought we were gonna finally get it this episode. I really thought Michelle was going home as soon as they were going to tribal. I'm like, Michelle's going home. Michelle's the shock CP edit. Michelle's our complex personality. Michelle's our Elliot Isaac.
But then she's not.
She rose like a phoenix.
Yes. I think going on that real quick, a lot of those early like the Yules, Alleys, Stephanie's, all those people, they don't really have like a goal, so to speak. Like Michelle, it's been drilled into our heads that like she's like, I want to prove that I deserve my win. I want to prove that I'm a good player. I want to prove that like this, that, and the other thing. And she's like still been saying that, and it doesn't quite seem like we've really. It seems like she's proved, but she hasn't like finished that. So if she were to go in this episode, that would have sort of left a big storyline just sort of like cut off.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe Michelle is gonna rob Ethan of the Sia money. Oh my god.
Shut up. Oh my god.
The Sia favorite.
We all know the Sia favorite's gonna be she's gonna give it to Sandra anyway. She's gonna be like, you were the only one who had the guts to leave that island.
Sia's not gonna give money.
She British.
Did you just see a British accent?
I don't
She's
know.
gonna give it to Rick Devens again.
Is she Australian?
She's gonna give it to Rick Devens. She's like, the way you just ran around that island was just amazing. So
Really
fun to
something.
watch.
Revolutionary. I can't.
The way you just ran around that island,
She's
just
gonna be
so
like,
fun.
Johnny, when you pull up that fish, mate. Oh.
Are we ready to do? Are we? Never mind.
Should
I
we
think, are we
go
ready to do
through?
our list and
Let's-
our
Should we do our
Let's
one?
make-
Well,
I have a question for everybody. We
Yeah.
should all make merge boot predictions.
Oh, I was gonna go the other way, but that's fun too.
wait, well, we do have our next time on Survivor that we didn't talk about.
Oh, we can talk about that first.
Merge.
Oh,
And no edge challenge? Maybe?
They showed it for a hot second. They showed
It
8
looked-
lanes.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
the
looks like the
Oh,
challenge.
so someone... Okay.
That challenge they showed did not look big enough for the full merge tribe. So unless it's the sort of like, oh no, they still would set it up. Even if it was like a sit out to like get food for the whole tribe, even if it was like that, then they would still set up the
Yeah.
whole challenge.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they do that, though, because they're going to get a merge feast.
Yeah.
yeah,
I wonder if the reason why they showed like no edge sequence is because, and I think is because Isaac's right. They probably don't want to show the sequence where they all come in and Probst reveals that 2 of them are coming back, and they just want to keep that under wraps.
That's key. If that's the case, they probably just edited. I mean, obviously, yeah, they edited out during the sequence of like they were rattling off like people having different conversations. Like, we should get Adam. I think we should get out so and so. They just didn't show returnees.
yeah.
I also do, before we move on, did anyone have anything else first before I have like one last thing that I wanted to mention?
No, but before we do like our list and the player of the week, I would like a draft update, please.
Yes. Well, I just had one more thing about the episode then first.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Pipa. I'm a little bit confused about what is going to happen when Sophie sees that Yule is gone and Nick basically orchestrated it.
Oh, easy. She flips the cops are us, and she goes with Tony and Sarah, which I would love to see.
I think I decided I'm gonna try to make an alliance chart or like an alliance map for the merge, but it's not going to be accurate at all. So
I don't think that Sophie will think that Nick has that capability to do that, and I think that she'll believe that it was Wendell's orchestration, but Nick had a hand in it.
They could scapegoat Wendell.
They could scapegoat Wendell.
They should. For sure. That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I was so disappointed it wasn't Wendell for the sole fact. Like, just watching him interact with Michelle is so. It's like chewing on glass. It's like, I'm tired of it. I think it's just because like how like genuinely disrespectful it is. I don't know. Like, I don't quite understand how you can talk to another human being like that and completely mean it. It's just a whole thing.
Michelle's going, imagine how tired we are. Imagine how tired we are of it.
I feel like...
Well, she kept it, so she's obviously not that tired.
I'm trying to look at it from a slightly more positive perspective, where if Michelle does end up voting out Wendell or just outlast him, it will be that much more satisfying. But I agree. I don't need to see any more of them.
All of us are sitting looking at Wendell going, we were rooting for you. We were rooting for you.
Some people were. I was.
So what's our draft update, sisters?
Okay, so the draft. So here's where we're at going into merge, and this is not including the people coming back. The person that has the most people left is Andrew. Andrew has not had a single person eliminated. He has Michelle, Jeremy, Tony, and Sarah.
Come on, team traffic stop. I'm so sorry.
Add all of Andrew's draft to the list. Pippa, I was perfect until tonight. Team Moobs, Team Man Boobs, and Denise, Yule, Adam, and Nick. Let's see. Monty's technically in last now because he gets Sandra, and Sandra left. And how we are doing it, if you do leave Edge of Extinction, you do get that placement. So Monty's only gonna get 1 point for having Sandra instead of like the other placements. So with Sandra, he also has Kim, Danny, and Sophie. So Danny's out. Danny's not coming back, so he's not gonna get that many points there. But Monty probably does have the winner, and then he has Kim. So we'll see what happens. Pippa, you have Ben, Boston Rob, Amber, and Wendell. So 2 people that are out. Wendell, who will see what happens, and Ben, who will see what happens. And then finally we have Isaac, who somehow drafted 4 of the first 7 boots. And Ethan, Natalie, Parvati, and Tyson.
You had such a good draft too, Isaac.
I thought Isaac had a great draft. I thought Isaac's draft was going to win.
Preseason, that is a good-looking draft, but...
Not anymore.
Can we all go around in a circle real quick? Gage can dictate that circle who we think the pre-merge boot will be. Just
The
say,
merge
like,
boot?
we don't really...
Merge boot and
Yeah,
guaranteed
the merge
safe.
boot, what I meant.
Okay, how about this? We'll go in the order of the last to first in the draft. So we'll make Isaac go first, then Pippa, then Monty, then me, then Andrew.
Oh God, I need to.
We don't really need a big explanation. We can just
just go with your gut. Just say your name.
Is it me first?
Yes.
Nick or Ben?
Okay. Pippa?
Tony.
Monty?
Wendell.
I had 2 people circled, but I'm going to go with Wendell. If not Wendell, it's Ben. Andrew, go with your gut. You can do it.
I'm like juggling Adam and Nick. So I'm gonna say Adam or Nick.
And who's safe? Should we go reverse order?
Who's least likely to go home?
Yeah.
I can go first for that if you want
Okay.
to make it. I literally need to pull up the cast again. Who's definitely not going home? Probably.
I have mine pick ready.
I can pick like multiple people because I feel like a lot of people are fine. I'm just gonna throw a dart at the board and say Jeremy. I feel like I can pick 5 people.
I'll say Kim.
I'm gonna take the obvious Sophie.
Pippa?
Pippa.
Michelle.
I don't think she'll be first merge boot. I don't think she'll be merge boot.
I was also going to say Kim.
Alright.
But
I could also
say
say Adam.
I was going to say Sophie at first, so.
Mm-hmm. Alright.
So who's on our list this week?
Isaac. Give us.
Oh, yeah.
Give it to us.
Jeffra Brand. Oh my God, I almost said Brand. Jeffra Bland.
We're on
Rob
the list again.
Okay. Butchered. Okay. Jeffra Bland. Rob's Junk. Amber. BB Zahara Benet. Russell Hance. Adam Klein. All of Andrew's draft. And Jeffra Bland's butchered name.
Substantially less this time. We were nice.
Yeah, we were nice.
We were nice.
Is it time for Player of the Week?
Pippa, you get to do it this week.
Okay, so I was debating which name would make you guys mad.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with one of my favorite winners.
But she's gonna say Rick Nevin.
Fabio.
Which is
Fabio.
Ryan Heidick.
I ain't got nothing to
End
say.
it. Kill it. End it. End it. Just end it. Just kill it.
Pippa, he killed a puppy.
I was
He
gonna say,
killed the
didn't he shoot an
And then
arrow through a dog?
Yeah, he got arrow through the dog.
End it.
Okay.
Listen, no. Pippa's only picking.
Then we're gonna go with my second option.
Hold on, Pippa, are you picking it because you watched his softcore porn?
No.
His what?
Cut it. Cut it.
Oh my god. Yes,
Wait.
he did.
Okay,
softcore porn.
back
I will
at
find
that.
it.
I'm gonna pick one more time.
I wish you
other
wouldn't.
name that was in my head because I did not know any of these facts about Brian Heidick, even though I am now looking at his mugshot. Maybe I don't know, but
Probably.
the other choice was Rick Devens. Rick Devens,
Yeah.
you baby are the player of the week. Thank you for being you.
Okay.
Who gets it next week?
Good night. Oh. Who had it
Who was it?
Do we want a
Skype cut
cycle?
out.
She picked,
Did I ever get it?
You do it next week, Isaac.
You do it next
Okay,
week.
cool.
What the hell?
Pippa
With that-
chose Wilson the second.
The third.
Wow.
It's
Anyways,
the second.
with
Look
that,
it up.
With that,
Please end the
Goodbye.
fucking call. Oh my god.
Bye.